Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of He Said. A look at the world from a seasoned Black man's perspective. It is Friday, January the 20th. Can you believe it? Time is moving, ladies and gentlemen. And we are really, really happy that you all are here. Um, Let me see, where do I begin? Let me just tell you, there might be a sudden change in the show tonight. For those of you who have been watching for nearly 2 years, I'm extremely transparent. But our special guest tonight, Romal Tune, who we were hoping was going to be here to talk about his book, I Wish My Dad. I'm not sure what is going on, and this is the first time that I've ever had to make this announcement, but we have not he has not checked in with us tonight. So we're going to pray that he is going to come on. And if he doesn't, I just wanted to put that up there to you guys because it was really a show that we were all looking forward to having with us or having to do tonight. But our show is always full of surprises. So I want to share, even though we celebrated the MLK holiday, Martin Luther King Jr. holiday this past Monday, we want to continue the celebration by acknowledging another man who played a significant role in the civil rights movement during that time in 1963. And we're going to do that in our chat tonight. We are honored for this opportunity to have a special guest with us tonight. So, you all sit tight because I'm sure it is going to blow your mind. And while I have your attention, on Friday, the 24th of February, that will be our 2-year anniversary. That's right. He said, we'll be celebrating 2 years, ladies and gentlemen. And for those of you who have followed us for the first year, we had an anniversary show and we invited some of you to participate. We're going to do the same thing again. Some of you, I have your email addresses, so look forward to an invitation coming to you, and hopefully you can join us on our anniversary show. Well, without further ado, I'm always ready to get them in here, ladies and gentlemen. So if you all are ready for the chat, let's go ahead and go to the chat so I can get my guys in here. Hello, hello, hello.
Good evening. Good evening.
Like magic, we appear. Got magic to do.
Boom.
How you guys doing? Happy Friday to you.
TGIF.
Yeah,
Yes.
good to see you both.
It's good to see you guys.
I'm just going to say this to everybody who's watching. I have two of the most professional men as my co-hosts, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry, I got to give it to them. They work real hard, and for the many people who watch this show who know me, I'm telling the truth when I say someone's around me that work hard. And I give all the love to Boddie and Vash. So thank you guys for joining us tonight. Thank you. How you doing?
It's Friday. I'm a year older, remember? I'm a year older. That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
We didn't do it last week. Bobby,
So, do we sing happy birthday?
if
No.
you're ready, I'm in
No,
voice. Hold on for a second.
no.
Hold on, yeah, because we have mugs.
We got.
I'm like, I even have a mug. I got it for my birthday.
Did you?
I did.
Where is it?
Alvin gave me my mug. I'll have it before the show's over.
Well, good.
You know what? I can't do my eye roll tonight. They hurt already. Okay, so I can't do it. But anyway, as I promised the audience, we have something very, very special tonight. Do we have any folks in here that we can say hi to before we get on with the show?
Well,
I'm sorry.
Michi chimed in and she said
Michi?
hello. So we want to say hey to Michi.
Hey,
There
Michi.
it is.
See, Bobby knows her as Michi. Michelle Bowie, thank you for joining in. Thank you.
Yes.
And Monica, thank you for joining in.
Hey, Monica.
Thank you. And for anybody what we can't see on our chat, thank you all for joining in. Well, if you all are ready, as I promised, we have something very special for you guys tonight. So I'm going to get on with it. In honor of the 94th celebration of the late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we want to talk about Bayard Rustin, a prominent gay Black man in our history books, who's most notable to the African-American civil rights movement was his planning and execution of the historic 1963 March on Washington for Jobs and Freedoms along with Dr. King.
And tonight on He Said, He Said, He Said, we are honored. It is our pleasure to have Walter Nagel joining our show. Walter was Bayard Rustin's partner for a decade and is the executor of Rustin's estate. He directs a small private foundation and works with groups seeking to lift up Mr. Rustin's name and his accomplishments. He is an administrator on the Facebook page, Brother Outsider, The Life of Bayard Rustin.
Walter Nagel was one of the first LGBTQI partners to accept a Presidential Medal of Freedom on behalf of their partner. And he co-authored Troublemaker for Justice, The Story of Bayard Rustin, the man behind the March on Washington, published by City Light Books. Please welcome to the He Said stage, Mr. Walter Nagel.
Mr. Nagel, thank you for being here. How are you this evening?
I am well, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for inviting me as we finish up a week of celebration of Dr. King's life and we start to move into Black History Month.
Yes.
Well, and I'm going to say this was really a short notice for you joining us tonight, and I just want to extend another thank you for that, for being here. And again, we said it behind stage, but it is an honor to have you here. Okay. It is. So
That word.
I know.
So
Pleasure.
I'm going to go ahead and start it off. Mr. Nagel, so you met Bayard Rustin in April of 1997, and you were partnered for 10 years until his death in August 1987. How and where did you two first meet?
So just a little correction. We met in 77.
77.
I think you said no, yeah, because we were together from 77 to 87.
Excuse me. Okay.
Quite all right.
April.
Hey.
That's all right, ladies and gentlemen. I'm still here.
I wish I could
present.
turn
Thank you.
time back.
If I could turn back time.
Thank
Every day,
you.
we're
Thank
getting
you.
a little older. So I met Bayard really quite by chance. I had lived in New York for about 7 years at that point, and New York was a pretty tough place in the 70s, and I had decided I was going to move out to the West Coast, and I was going to a newsstand in the Times Square area where they sold papers from all over the country, indeed all over the world. And I was going to pick up a San Francisco Chronicle because I had decided I wanted to move to San Francisco and, start looking at what the job situation was like, the apartments, things like that. And while I was standing on a corner waiting for a light to change, suddenly I looked and there was this very handsome, tall, friendly, very well-dressed gentleman, and he said hello, and we started talking, and the conversation lasted for 10 years. I did get the newspaper, but I didn't make it to San Francisco.
Wow.
Wow.
That's amazing. Like destiny. Like, we talk about serendipity on this show all the time. How incredibly serendipitous.
And
Absolutely.
again, 1977 was a wonderful year. So that was one of my favorite years. So again, I'm going to apologize for screwing up 1997 and 1977 and saying 1997. So okay, I'm done. I've already done.
Well, Mr. Nagel, after you graduated from Fordham University with honors, I might add, you moved in with Bayard into the Mutual Redevelopment House, which has since been reclassified as a historical landmark in 2016. How did you guys do that at a time when same-sex marriage wasn't legal?
Well, the complex that I live in, it's commonly called Penn South. It's about 3 blocks south of Penn Station, and it runs down to 23rd Street in Manhattan from 8th to 9th Avenues. And it was a very progressive housing development put up by the International Ladies Garment Workers Union in the early 1960s. In fact, President John F. Kennedy came and was part of the dedication ceremony in May, I think it was, of 1962. He was here with Eleanor Roosevelt and some of the important labor leaders and Nelson Rockefeller, a lot of government officials, because this was really a housing project that was built to be affordable for working people, to, provide them with good housing. And Bayard was one of the people, he applied to come in and was accepted because he had a very close association with the labor movement, partly through his work with A. Philip Randolph. And so he moved in here in 1962, about a year before the March on Washington, and several other people who worked with him on the march, including Eleanor Holmes, who is now Eleanor Holmes Norton, lived in the housing project during that summer of '63. And some of the planning sessions for the march took place in this apartment that I am still in.
Wow.
So to get back to your question, well, Bard and I were living together, and he was, 37 years older than me. And I think we both assumed that if we both lived out our natural lifespans, he would probably die before I would. And he wanted to find a way to make me his heir, his executor, and to, try and protect my rights as best as he could. And so he looked into the idea of adopting me. And so we decided to take a chance on that. We got a lawyer and we went through formal adoption in the state of New York, and it was approved. Probably one of the very rare ones at that time, if possibly the only one. But it legalized our relationship. And so at the time that he passed, I was legally able to stay in the apartment.
Wow.
Amazing. Amazing.
Forward thinking and very
Absolutely.
good use of the
Absolutely.
legal system working to your
Absolutely.
benefit.
And
Brilliant.
And a testament to the creativity that we've always had to exhibit in order to simply exist.
Yeah.
One word
Yeah.
comes to mind: progressive.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And Bard was a very creative person, a very creative thinker, and that entered into all of his work with the movement, all of the things that he planned and organized.
Well, and Bobby, I know you were getting ready to ask a question, but can you? I'm so curious about what type of person was Bayard. If you could put that into context and share that with us.
Sure. Well, I know, if you've only seen the Bayard that appears in Brother Outsider, the documentary, or some of the old news footage of him debating Malcolm X, he really comes across pretty fierce and sometimes angry and very militant. Nonviolent, but he was militant, and he was not afraid to speak his mind and speak truth to power and stand up for what he believed in. But when he wasn't out there being the activist in his personal life and his working life, he was very gentle, very loving, understanding, very kind, especially to people that he worked with. People loved to work for him because he was, he really was one of them. He didn't put himself on this pedestal as the boss or anything like that. If there was work to be done, Bard was always there to pitch in, and everybody did what needed to be done. And this, really came from his years in the 40s and 50s before he started working for Dr. King, when he was really a grassroots organizer, a grassroots activist. So he did it all over his lifetime, and he really was sympathetic as a boss to the people that worked with him. He had a tremendous interest in art and music. He was a wonderful singer. Some of you may have heard his recordings. So I would say, you hate to kind of use the old cliche Renaissance man, but Bayard really epitomized that idea.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Mr. Nagel, in 2013, on Bayard's behalf, he received from President Obama the nation's highest award to a citizen, the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Could you just share with us what that experience was like and your thoughts as you accepted that award on his behalf?
Well, it was thrilling. It was not something, certainly when I was growing up and before I met Bayard, it was not something that I thought that I would even visit the White House, let alone be part of a ceremony there. But 2013 was the 50th anniversary of the march, and a group of us kind of organized and reached out to people who had worked with Bayard, the major civil rights organizations, his biographers, political people, to write letters, sort of, I guess, nominating him, if you will, for the award. It's never really quite clear how these things happen, but we had a lot of support from a broad range of people in social justice movements and in politics. And I got a call from Valerie Jarrett, President Obama's close assistant at that time, associate, telling me that they had decided to give Mr. Rustin the medal, and they wanted me to come down and accept it on his behalf in November. I got the call in late August. Going there, I mean, it was a great day. It was, President Obama. He had the years under President Obama were difficult. I mean, he was trying to do really, really good things, and he was getting so much pushback and so much resistance from the opposition. So going there on a day when you were giving out awards to people and celebrating their lives, it was really kind of an up experience for the Obamas also. And it was wonderful for me to meet people that Bayard had worked with. He worked with Gloria Steinem. She was also there that day getting an award. He worked with Reverend C.T. Vivian, who was a very prominent civil rights activist, during a close associate of Dr. King. So it was great to meet them and be with them and share this, kind of celebration of several activists getting the medal that day.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions. The first one I want to ask, I mean, you met Bayard on a street corner in Times Square, not in a sleazy way. When did you find out, or when did you realize who he was?
Well, when he said hello.
So you knew who he was right off the top of that.
No, he said, hello, I'm Bayard Rustin. I mean, I knew who Bayard Rustin was when I was growing up.
Okay.
Because I was somebody who was interested in the movement. I was very interested in the philosophy of nonviolence. And I was seeing it played out on the television, when I was in the middle school and high school, because, the movement was happening then, and reading about it in the papers. And Bayard's name was always coming up. And since he was so closely associated as kind of being the master of nonviolent direct action, I kind of latched onto him as somebody that I would think very highly of. And at some point along the way, I found out that he was gay. And so it was like, oh, well, this is the icing on the cake here. So I didn't know who he was. But at the moment that I met him, until he introduced himself, I wasn't quite sure, because he was known for carrying a walking stick. And he didn't have it that afternoon. Most of the times you see him walking around in the city, he would have his walking stick, or one of his walking sticks, with him. He had quite a large collection of them. But for whatever reason, he didn't have one that day. But then, of course, when he introduced himself, bingo, I knew who he was.
Right on. Well, as he is getting more and more acknowledgement for being the architect or the organizer for that march on Washington and on Selma, what exactly does that actually mean? What did he do that was so special?
Well, I think, Bayard was somebody who sometimes was sent into exile, because, as you know, he was a gay man. He had a kind of a checkered radical political past. He had served time in prison during World War II for refusing to go into the army. So he had a lot of what we would refer to as baggage that mainstream America might not find so appealing. But at the same time, he was such a great intellect and such a creative organizer that even when he was sent into the wilds, shall we say, when he was expelled from Dr. King's inner circle in 1960, or other times, sooner or later, they would need him. They would call him back because they needed something done. And Bayard was a meticulous organizer. I mean, every little thing that needed to be looked into, he would start jotting it down on paper in his handwriting, and eventually one of his assistants or somebody would type this up. So if you look into the manuals, there were a couple of organizing manuals from the 1963 March. Every little detail of what might conceivably could happen was kind of planned. They made contingency plans in case something was going to happen, because of course, people had never experienced anything like the march before in Washington. And there was a lot of fear. The city emptied out. A lot of the stores were closed. The Kennedy administration was terrified that there was going to be violence and looting and rioting and things like that. But Bayard planned it so carefully, and he worked. He worked with the authorities. He worked with the police department, so that things actually went very smoothly. But it was really his being able to think of all of those options, all of those details, all of those possibilities that made things so seem, it's like a Broadway show. From the audience, it seems like it's seamless. But then when you go backstage, you realize how complicated it is.
You said something, because I interviewed you like many years ago, and you said something that I quote all the time. You said that Dr. Martin Luther King gave the speech of his life at the very end of the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. And that never would have happened without the meticulous planning of Bayard Rustin. And I just wanted to make sure that that was said with you here on the air, because I think that as people remember Bayard, that they need to remember that of all the things that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. did in his life, a lot of that was springboarded by his appearance at the March on Washington at the very end because of what Bayard did.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, they deliberately, Bayard knew that nobody would want to follow Dr. King's speech. Not because he knew what Dr. King was going to say, but he just knew what a great orator he was. And so, I mean, who would want to go on after him? So they put him on at the end. But, people don't ever really think about, well, what would have happened had there been a disruption, or had there been trouble at the March on Washington, and suddenly they had to clear the stage and everybody had to go home. That speech would not have been given at that time.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Mr. Nagel, can you share with us a little bit about the Bayard Rustin Center for Social Justice, and how, for those who would like to find out more or support it, how that would happen?
Well, the Bayard Rustin Center for Social Justice is one of a number of organizations that carry Bayard's name. I sit on the board as a member emeritus of the board, if you will. It's located in Princeton, New Jersey, so they concentrate mainly on central New Jersey, if you will. And they do a lot of work with the LGBTQ plus community. They provide a safe space, a place where people can come and, be themselves, be who they are, talk to other people, get us, of course, get the sense that they're not alone. And there are events there. There was a book signing there a few months ago, and there's going to be another one, I think, very soon. I was down there at the end of August for a commemoration of the anniversary of the March on Washington, last August. So they do a number of activities in the community. They're very largely responsible for organizing the Pride March in, I guess, June in the Princeton community. They have a program where they're doing health counseling now, giving out monkeypox vaccines, COVID tests. They have a women's a nurse, I guess, an RN or a nurse practitioner that comes in and counsels women on women's health issues. So it's a wide variety of things to appeal to a diverse community, if you will.
Thank you.
Very interesting. Well, what would you like for people to remember about Bayard Rustin?
Well, I think one of the things that I like to point out to people, and that I think young people especially need to hear, and I think are inspired by, is, this is a person who was active for a good 60 years of his life in activism. And, before the March on Washington, he was out there sometimes with a very, very small group of people, getting beaten up, getting arrested, served time in a chain gang in North Carolina. He took a lot of hits, and he also got a lot of hits from within the movement itself, because people didn't like him. Sometimes because he was gay, other times because he wasn't part of that close-knit religious group of religious leaders that surrounded Dr. King in the South. He was surrounded by Baptist ministers, and Bayard was kind of this northern intellectual He had a religious background. He was Quaker, but it was not the same kind of spiritual grounding that the Baptist ministers have. And so sometimes he was, as I said before, sent into exile. But he always came back. He believed that his work was about the movement. It wasn't about him. It wasn't about his ego. So no matter how many times he was knocked down, how many times he was arrested, how many times he was sent into the desert, sooner or later he would come back there and get back into the fight. And I think that's what people need to remember and try and emulate if they can. Don't give up. You're going to lose. You're not going to win every battle. You're going to lose some battles. Right. But the important thing is to continue the fight and continue the struggle, because it's ongoing. It's never totally won.
Well, thank you, Mr. Nagel. I think this is a good time to ask you, are there any events or something happening involving you and Bayard that we should know about?
Well, certainly involving Bayard. This will be an interesting year. I think he'll be in the news a lot. We have the 60th anniversary of the March on Washington coming up in August of this year. There is a film that really the first feature film that President and Mrs. Obama's production company, Higher Ground, is producing. They're producing a film called Rustin, starring Coleman Domingo. And that will be coming out probably in the fall, probably, just after the anniversary of the March. So, people are looking forward to that, because, that will introduce Bayard's name to, millions of people who see the film. And it focuses mainly on the March. It really deals with the, about the 2 to 3 month period before the March, with some flashbacks to put Bayard into context. So that will be happening. And there's also going to be a new edition of Bayard's writings. We're going to be updating an edition of Time on Two Crosses.
Okay.
Excellent.
There we go. Okay.
Right.
Yes. There you go.
That'll probably, I think we're trying to tie that in with the release of the film.
Okay.
So probably in the fall. So yeah, there are a number of things that are going on and happening. There are a couple of books that came out recently that feature Bayard, if you will, in them. And the whole movement towards the movement that's being led by Reverend Barber, the Poor People's Campaign, the updated Poor People's Campaign, that's really focusing on the economic issues. And Bayard was really at his roots. That was really where he was. He and Mr. Randolph were primarily people who were interested in economic uplift for the masses. You had to deal with racism, you had to get rid of Jim Crow. But once you did that, and of course we haven't finished doing it yet, but once you did that, people still have to have good jobs. They have to have good healthcare. They have to have access to good education. And so, eventually it goes back to economics, and people are starting to see that now and write about that issue. And very often Bayard's name comes up.
Well, when they make the sequel, who do you want to play you?
There's a good question.
That's a good question.
There's a good one.
By the time they make the sequel, I'm not sure it'll be who was the guy in the Bible that lived to be 900? Maybe about that time.
Well,
I was sure you were going to say Brad Pitt. I was just sure.
Yeah, I was expecting to say Brad Pitt as
crossed
well.
my mind. Of course, Brad Pitt. There was an who's that English? There's an English actor too that Colin Firth, maybe.
Colin Firth.
Oh, very good. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I can see
see,
that as well.
I was hoping that you were going to say the guy who did The Greatest Showman.
Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman?
Yes. I was thinking Hugh Jackman. Yes.
Okay.
I do want to make note, though, of the casting of Coleman Domingo, also a very extraordinarily talented gay Black actor who will carry that role.
So this movie is now that is now available, Bobby, is what you're saying?
Coming out later this year.
Okay, later this year. Okay.
They're putting the final touches on it right now. I was in touch
Wow.
with the producer the other day, and they're putting on the final touches. I think they've done some test screenings and gotten some very good feedback from the audiences. So they're kind of, tying up all the loose ends.
Well, we would love to have someone from the film.
I was gonna say.
I know you were. I know
You
you
know,
were. We think alike.
Always
Come on.
thinking.
always
Mhm.
thinking.
Well, maybe we can get Coleman Domingo to make an appearance.
That'd be awesome.
Let's put it in the air. Let's put it in the air.
Yes, and leave your address with Vash so we can send flowers now. Because
Exactly.
that's how we do it on He Said, He Said, He Said.
Exactly.
Well, Mr. Nagel, I just want to say thank you again for joining us tonight and sharing with us tonight and talking with us tonight. And it has just been an honor once again for me. I knew who Bayard Rustin was, but now I know who he is through your eyes. So thank you. I feel blessed about that. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
It's been
Thank
our
you.
pleasure.
Thank you.
so
So
much.
don't go away because we definitely want to bring you back and say, give you our farewell because you've made this show what it is tonight. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please, I want to see you all clap.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
for Mr.
Right.
Walter Nagel. Thank you
Thank
for
you
joining
so
us
much for
tonight.
joining us. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So everyone, I have an announcement to make. I did get a call. I'm just going to say COVID is real.
COVID is real.
I did get a
Where's my
call.
mask?
Can take a show guest right on out.
Our show guest is in the hospital. Actually dealing with COVID, under quarantine right now. This is Romal Tune. If you all follow him like I do, he has been traveling the world, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to have him to come on the show when he gets better, because this is a very important book. I Wish My Dad. It is very important, and I don't want to talk about the book because we're going to talk about it when we have him come on the show. But those 4 words were 4 powerful words in my life for me to deal with some of the things that I had to deal with growing up. And I just want to make sure that we introduce him, share him with our audience. So we do.
And on behalf of the show, we want to send up prayers and good thoughts to him that he will soon be well.
Yes, get well, Romal. And I did say that in my text because we were going through the show, because, I'm Mr. Fingers over here, and I was just moving and sending him well wishes and everything. So
Vash and I are going to let that go.
Oh,
let that go.
I am Mr. Fingers. So
we're just going to let it go.
So you know what? I think you know what we're going to do. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to hear from you, first of all, in our comment section. If there's any one of you there that got a question for Bobby and I, Bobby, Vash, and I, don't leave Vash out, because I know y'all got
how did he get out of that?
Okay, no, he's still in it. If you all got any questions, please send a question to us, and we want to answer. We'll answer your question. We'll try. But so hello, Blue.
Maybe not.
Hello, Curry. And we have Leonard. Did we speak to them already tonight?
Hey, Sean.
And Derwin.
No, we didn't say hello to any of them.
We did not. So let's speak to them. Let me see. Samuel.
He was asking a question about, I guess at one point, Mr. Nagel had said something that Mr. Rustin was sometimes perceived as angry, and I think there was a question mark as to that word there. That's what Samuel was referring to.
Gay black rage is real.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you. Oh, see, Vash, why you open up that can of worms? Because I experienced it this week, and I try to stay,
this
calm.
week.
I experienced it this week. Gay black rage. You know what I'm saying?
I know. I talked to you, and you were. I mean, I was taken aback by how affected you were.
Somebody just wants to know why he has a tie on as well. So
I'm happy to see that you bounced back.
I have bounced back. I'm going to talk about. Okay, let's talk about some of the things that impacts us and triggers. Let's talk about triggers. And one of my triggers that I experienced this week, was, first of all, I am black, I am gay, I am smart, I am,
you smart, and
I'm kind,
pretty,
and I'm kind,
modest.
Okay. But you know what? I'm not blessed. I'm not saying this about all millennials, but don't come against me and my job, okay? And some of these millennials, I love your ideas. I love your energy. But some millennials have a way of just not wanting to work with people. And I experienced that this week, and it set off a trigger. a trigger that I try to keep, cool about. But when you question my integrity, or when you're rude to me, or when you just, actually, how about sabotage? When you go to that length because you're intimidated by me or something that I did, that sets off a trigger in me that I don't even, sometimes I don't even want me to see it. So, triggers, they are real, and we have them, and we have to manage them.
Make a note of
And
that.
this show is brought to you by Pocket Shank.
Yeah.
You never know.
Exactly. I'm like, make a note of that. Don't want to do that.
Well, I don't think any of us want to be disrespected. You know
No,
what I'm saying?
absolutely.
I don't think, and that's what it's really about.
Yeah.
We don't, I don't care who you are. I don't think you want to be disrespected.
Yeah.
No.
It just doesn't work. And so I'm going to thank Vash this week for talking me off of a little ledge. Ladies and gentlemen, if I may just be a little transparent with that, I'm not going to give y'all all the details, but Vash talked me off the ledge, and here I am. Now, to the tie question, because that's what I do, baby.
Because that's what he does.
That's what I do, Leonard.
Why do you
What you need to be asking is, how is he mixing patterns so well? How is he mixing stripes and a little, gingham so well? That's what you need to be asking.
And if you go to my Facebook page, if anybody follow me this week, I said I think I posted something about, if you're gonna mix patterns, own it today. Okay, just own it today. And I was mixing black. Yeah, I'm a pattern mix. Leonard, I don't know if I want to say that, but I'm gonna say it. I like to mix patterns.
He does swirl, y'all.
Thank you, Leonard. Thank you. So what else is going on with you guys?
You see this locking it?
I see you.
Blue was responding to my comment about the millennial that I had an issue with. Again, I'm not talking about all millennials. I had a problem with one this week.
With one.
With one. With one. Because I love me some millennials. Go ahead, Vash. I'm sorry.
Can we take a moment and talk about what's going on in Florida with them banning or trying to ban AP African American Studies?
Yes, we can. Now, again, I haven't done all my homework on it, but I'm ready to talk about it because Ron DeSantis can go to,
When we talk about being intersectional, being gay, being Black, I am feeling extremely attacked by Florida right now. For a country that talks about freedom of speech, for a country that talks about being a melting pot, I am not seeing that represented in Florida. And for those of you who may not know, there's a school that wants to have an AP African American Studies program, and Florida basically responded with, "We do not see the educational value in this."
Right. Wake up, everybody.
It is a part of a larger movement across the country. Texas is also dealing with some of these very similar types of legislation. Virginia, if you think about some of the legislation that's happening right around the corner with the new governor in terms of restrictions and limitations on what's taught, under the guise of not wanting to make students feel uncomfortable, singled out, all of those things that were a part of segregation and resulted from racism, systemic racism that still exists, has not completely been dismantled by any stretch of the imagination. So I find it absolutely amazing that all of a sudden the feelings of uncomfortableness become a barometer by which we're going to measure the appropriateness of a curriculum. So don't get me started.
What you say as an educator?
Don't. But it's very sad because one of the things I know is that there are ways in which you can make sure that history is either not taught or forgotten. And one of the ways you do that is by even the legislation in terms of, the writing of the books that the students learn from.
Yeah.
Well,
and they had already started that movement.
Yes.
Last summer there was a request made, legislation put forward to even label or discuss slavery as involuntary. It was called voluntary
Relocation.
Relocate, involuntary relocation or something.
An
Like
internship.
You're just like, stop it. Just
Right.
stop it.
Apprenticeship.
But what I will
voluntary
say to you is
relocation.
I have even decided, and this is a hard one because I love warm weather. Anybody who knows me knows that I love warm weather.
Yeah.
But I have literally declined going to Florida a couple of instances in terms of conferences or just even pleasure as a result of just not wanting to support that economy in its current state.
Well, it's funny. I went to Florida last September, and you know, Fort Lauderdale, which is to me Gay Wizard of Oz. And I just, you know, I didn't think about it. You know what I'm saying? But you know, after I got home, you know, and I hadn't been to Florida in years, and I thought, you in Florida?
I'm not supporting it.
I'm not. Yeah. I had a
didn't go to Texas.
Yeah.
Same
No. Texas and Florida and Arizona don't plan to visit.
Not doing it.
I have no desire to do that. I'm not even doing a layover there. How about that?
Oh, wow. Well, you may have to choose carefully where you fly because.
Well, where I normally fly, they don't go nowhere near Florida.
All right.
So
look, locking it again. Leave it alone.
Nowhere near. Since we're talking, you know, crazy folks, and how about this Republican Representative Santos? Is it Santos in New York?
Yes.
And today it came out that he was a drag. He has performed in drag.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that?
Yes.
The problem that I'm having with that is not the fact that he performed in drag.
Mm-hmm.
I'm having a problem with you're denying that too. Okay.
And has voted for legislation, anti-gay or LGBTQIA legislation. As like, you know, he is the ultimate representation of self-hatred.
Well, why can't they get him out? Why? Because they voted him in? What?
You cannot get rid of when you vote a congressperson in.
You can't get him out because you don't like him.
You can't. There's no recourse for getting rid of them, except for the Congress to vote to get rid of them, and it has to be done by a certain percentage vote,
or some type of actual
criminal
confirmation that he's lying or he embezzled or like all of which could be possible given his record as of now because there's even question about the misuse of funds. There was a GoFundMe page that was set up to raise funds for the operation of a dog of a veteran that apparently the money never went to that cause, that he used it inappropriately. So
right, Sean's like, it's the denial for me.
It's the denial.
It's the denial. And so being that he's in this predicament, well, okay, Sean said impeachment. Being that he's in this predicament and he's already elected, can he serve on anything? Do they
He's
have
already
to
been assigned committees.
Oh my gracious.
He's been assigned committees.
Yeah, it's like, for me, you also have to watch who within the Republican Party is befriending him.
Right.
And who,
Marjorie
Taylor Greene. They're on a committee together, as I understand.
It's all the people that you already think need to be gotten rid of that are embracing him and welcoming him in.
Absolutely.
That's really unfortunate.
Yeah. So I think Blue said it will take a conviction to get rid of him.
So
they're trying.
Maybe he touched somebody while he was doing drag or something, and they're going to come forth and say that
I'm going to leave that alone.
Touch them
or something. We're going to leave.
Because I would like not to equate.
We're going to move forward.
In drag.
I don't know. No, okay, yeah, I got to be careful. Yeah, I'm
we're
sorry.
Move forward.
I was not saying that.
Oh, did he free?
No, I did not.
He did. He was touched.
See, I told you, sometimes you just gotta. Anyway,
we're gonna move forward.
We're gonna move.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Yeah. Okay. So what else is going on with you
I just want you to know that our audience is being quite responsive tonight. I just got a text from one of my boys going, "Are you cold? You have a scarf on." Like thanks, Terry. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Terry, you have to know that this is one of his looks. This is one of his looks, whether he's in the house or not.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Terry knows you well. Okay. Oh, no?
Terry does know me well.
Terry does know you well.
But hey, it's work. Look, what happened, Alvin, when I came by your house the other day and your next door neighbor came outside?
Oh, my God. Ladies and gentlemen, Bobby came over to my house the other day, and one of my neighbors came out the house and said, he got out the car and was walking to my house, and she said, "Oh my God, you're just as handsome in person as you are on TV." I almost slammed the door. His head got so big, ladies and gentlemen.
Which is not good because it's already big.
And I have a small street. And so I live on a one-way street. He was so tickled by that. He said, "I need to come over your house every day, Alvin."
Every day
Okay?
I was going to stop by and just see if she's coming out the door. So
She
That's
came running. She came running up. She told him that he was good looking, and I just hollered. Okay, I was like, "But
okay, Terry.
but you are, Blanche."
But so back up.
And again, people are
Norman.
Thank you for that, Norman. This is why we love Norman so much.
We need, there's so much bobbing and weaving you can do. Okay,
Norman, we'll talk after the show, Norman.
I love that is always at the ready.
Mm-hmm. I think he's got the finger on the button at all times.
It's like on the radio shows where they've got the little things where there's like sound effects.
Right.
That visual of you, and there's a visual of Alvin, so he has to behave as well.
But since you put that picture up, I do want to just point out that Angela Bassett continues to be winning extraordinary accolades and awards for her role in that movie that I was watching that day, Norman.
Yes.
Not just watching, but stepped out of.
But
Gosh.
So, I mentioned to our audience that February 24th is our second anniversary.
I know.
And it is very important to us, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, you guys fuel us. We come on every week so that we can be a resource to you and bring you good energy on top of all of that. Absolutely. And so, having you participate in our anniversary this year, it would be monumental to us. So please stay tuned. Please watch us because we're going to show you how you can be a part of our second anniversary. Yes. And so send your emails in and you can do that. They can do that a number of ways, Vash, as far as getting on our mailing list. So you want to share that about how people can get on our mailing list?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. First of all, there's so many different ways you can connect to us. Probably the most important way that you can get connected to us is using our link tree. If you go to Linktree, linktr.ee/he said, you can go to our Linktree page and you can get connected to every one of our social media pages or aspects of our page so that you can see us on every platform, right? You get to decide whether or not you want to be, and I'm going to show this to you. You get to decide whether you want to see us on our website, which is probably the best way to get connected with us. Mm-hmm. Our website has a link to every show. You get to see show clips that have been created. You get to see full episodes. We'll be having articles there, etc. You can connect to us on our Facebook page, on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, or our podcast. I'm not sure if many of you know, this show after tonight will be uploaded to podcast. So you don't even have to see us. You can just listen to us. If you know people who are out and about who would like to be connected to He Said, or you think should be connected to He Said, please send them our link tree address, linktr.ee. He said. So if you go to our webpage, you can get connected on our blog and subscribe. And that way, every time we put a new episode up, you'll get alerted in email You'll be able to come and listen to us, watch us. You can even send us messages there that we can connect to. Or you can email us at he said live@gmail.com.
And tell a friend, tell two friends. You can even host a party. Okay, but tell somebody, ladies and gentlemen. We find so much joy in bringing this show to you. And for anybody who have attempted to do something like this, you have to know that a lot of work goes into what we do on a weekly basis. And so, when we have these moments, for example, our special guest who, unfortunately has come down with COVID and couldn't be with us tonight, we have to redirect and keep it going, ladies and gentlemen. And we have to do that. Have to do it with you in mind. So
Absolutely.
Again, tell a friend. And, and for those of you all that have been asking, yes, Bobby is going to be a part of the new promo. Okay. It takes a while to have to, look, neighbors are giving him
just own it.
kudos.
I'm on probation. Just own it. Like, you all are like, we don't know. We want to keep this one. So.
Look,
I'm waiting for the check to clear.
And look, you've gotten so many compliments. I mean, yes, I'm gonna put him on blast. Sean Holmes, he has just given you so many compliments, and I've told him you are coming. A welcome addition to this team that Vash and I have created. So
Thank you so
welcome. But he is going to be on a promo. But it takes a while because we like to do everything without airbrush. So that's how we do it. Mm-hmm.
If I can also say, we are still collecting subscribers to our YouTube channel to win that very, very, very special box and package from Chef Cottrell.
Oh, yes.
And there have been some of y'all who have been subscribing. LaShonda Wright, let me just say that we saw you subscribe.
Excellent.
Judy Henderson, we love you, and we haven't seen you in the show tonight. I'm calling you out, but we saw that you subscribed. Rodney, Jonathan Mitchell, Rudy Jenkins, we see you.
Absolutely.
So everyone, if you want to be entered in for the giveaway for the Chef Cottrell luxury package, which includes oils and soaps and the cooking pots
and all that good stuff. Yeah.
You want to go to our YouTube channel, which you can access from our link tree, and subscribe, because we want to give this away, and we're going to give it away really, really soon, and we want you to be entered into it.
And I want to say also, because for someone like me, and I'm not saying who out there, who can be sometimes technologically challenged, I just want to say, for me, when I first went to our own YouTube channel, the page, I had difficulty finding the most current shows. Like, there were archives of some of the older shows. So what I want to remind people is, if you go to the YouTube page channel, click on the little button that says live. And once you click on that, all of the most current shows will come right up for you.
I actually changed that because of you, Bobby. Oh. Now, if you go to our channel, there will be a thing that just shows you all the full episodes.
In other words, he was like the technologically challenged one on our team, who brought it up several times, because I kept saying, I can't find our own shows. What's going on?
See, I see the world from a place of who is not like me, and let me welcome them in.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for inviting me into your world.
I did.
He is so nice. He is so nice. Well,
Shady is what I was thinking, but nice as well also.
Well, I want to talk about next week, ladies and gentlemen, because we have another very special guest, and I'm going to call her and make sure that she's okay, ladies and gentlemen. But
tell her to wear a mask.
I'm going to call her tonight as soon as I get off the phone and say, how you doing? But next week we have someone. I'm going to talk about the business side of her. We call her the Renaissance woman. She is a lodging entrepreneur, magazine lifestyle editor, publisher, author, and the CEO of the Aquava Bed and Breakfast Inns. One of them happens to be on 16th Street here in Washington, D.C. Absolutely. It is one of the only Black-owned establishments along the entire 16th Street corridor, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. She also has one in Brooklyn, Cape May, Louisiana, New Orleans.
Yep.
And so she's going to be here. And on a personal note, her name is Monique Greenwood Pogue. On a personal note, I am sitting in this chair because she told me you can. And we're going to dive into that next week. She is just a phenomenal woman in so many ways, and we are so happy. And I'm sorry, and she even has a line in Macy's based on her bed and breakfast, then. So
and
she's
one
going to be
guest
here
that she
next
went
week.
to high school with.
And say it again. She went to high school with you?
Wow.
I have known Monique since high school.
Wow.
And since we have the NNPA on here, one of the first big shows that I did was Fairchild Publications hired me to direct a show, or The Soul of 7th Avenue, where I honored every top Black model in the world, from Iman to Naomi Campbell. And this was for the NNBJ conference in New York City. That show catapulted me to new heights, and it's all because Monique said he can. And
in addition to being a very successful business owner as well, she also served as the editor-in-chief of Essence magazine.
That's right. That's right. So next week she will be here, ladies and gentlemen, and we are so excited about that. Well, guys, look, I got to give you all kudos again. We bobbed and weaved tonight.
One must always know how to zig when you have to zag.
You better go ahead.
Although Norman told me don't move.
Yeah, don't work on that.
because your mic is rocking.
Don't move. My look is messing up the mic, I guess. So he's like, don't move.
Well, I want to give you all the words of the week. I'm not going to save them because I actually pulled them from the book, I Wish My Dad. What happens in the past is a part of you, but it doesn't have the right to control you the rest of your life. Healing happens when you confront the reality of what was, and when we grieve it, forgive ourselves, and express gratitude for the life we have today. And that was an excerpt from I Wish My Dad by author Romal Tune. We are wishing you well, Romal,
Absolutely.
and that you get better. And we want COVID to, we rebuke it on all fronts. So,
right now.
But thank you for calling in and let us know how you're doing. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight. We love you. Hey, Alma. And we can't wait. Hey, Michelle, thank you all for joining us. And we can't wait to see you all next week on our new episode of He Said.
He said. And thank you, Mr. Nagel.
Thank you, Mr. Nagel, for joining us. You guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys. Thank you so much.